Hey everybody, this is Neacsu at Real Talks, and before the next episode starts, just want to give an answer to a lot of people who are asking me, what software do I use to create my podcast? And the platform that I use is Anchor.fm. It's absolutely free. It has a huge reach, so it'll actually reach out to Apple, it'll reach out to Google, and it'll reach out to Spotify and other platforms. So those platforms pick up your podcast, so you have maximum exposure to anybody who is interested in listening to your podcast. As well, if you're absolutely lucky, there will be companies that will reach out to you and might want to sponsor your podcast. You might get paid for something that you love to do. So if you are interested in starting your own podcast, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And here we go to the next episode, and thank you for your time.
Welcome to Real Talks, the Realtor Life. This is where we talk to real agents about their story and their journey in real estate. We'll discuss their beginnings, their struggles, and their ultimate successes. We peel back the layers and deliver a behind-the-scenes conversation that you, the listener, can find inspiration. My name is Nick Neacsu. My intention is to share the authentic realtor life.
Hey everybody, this is Nick Neacsu with Real Talks, and this is episode 15, and we are out of Canada right now. We're in LA, and we are with the legend, Santiago Arana. Thank you so much for making time on your busy schedule.
Of course, Nick. Pleasure, man. Thank you for taking the time and considering me on this beautiful podcast.
Thank you so much. So Santiago, we have a huge audience base who are realtors, young realtors who are looking for inspiration and looking for golden nuggets. And you have a story of from nothing to the most successful you could possibly be in real estate, as we see you, especially in Canada. So tell us a little about your story. Where are you from originally?
Yes, of course. I'm from Bolivia originally, and I moved. I went to university in Bolivia and I studied business and marketing. And once I graduated, and I applied for a scholarship to do a master's degree in finances. But the master degree was only offered in English and in Hebrew, and I didn't speak any of those two languages.
Right.
So at that point, I spoke with my dad. I was like, I think it might be a good idea to go and learn English by immersion. I think it's better when you learn by immersion, like Tony Robbins says. You are in a place where you have no choice. When I moved here, I had an aunt that offered me to stay on her couch for 8 months, and I was out there, and I couldn't speak English, so I had to learn English first, and I didn't have anyone to speak Spanish, because if you go to classes or whatever,
right. If
I would stay in Bolivia, let's say, for example, and I would go to intensive classes of learning English, I would go back home, talk to my friends, my mom, my family in Spanish, and then you don't learn as fast, I don't believe. So came here, learn English, I think. As I was learning English, I was bussing tables, because obviously when I moved here I was 23 and I only had $120 with me.
Wow.
Thank God I was blessed enough to have an aunt that would allow me to stay in her couch. I didn't have to look for a place to live for 8 months.
Right.
And allow me to save a little bit of money. So when the time came, I left the house. And I started from scratch, man. Bussing tables, because I couldn't communicate with the tables or the customers. Once I finished working during the day, I would go to a night school for free to learn English, and after 3-4 months, I think I picked up the language enough to communicate, and I went to the manager and I said, I think I can sell a lot of drinks and food, and do a lot better with customers by talking to them as a waiter than a busboy, and he agreed, and I waited tables from that moment probably for about 5 years as I was doing real estate. So once I was waiting tables in Canada, was really cool. Sorry, in Canada, in Santa Barbara. It was really cool because my wife now had her dad living in Santa Barbara, so she went to spend Thanksgiving with him, and her and her family stumbled upon the restaurant that I was working in Montecito, and I waited on her table.
Wow.
So that's how I met my wife. It's pretty cool. She was living in LA, and we started to date, and I was going back and forth from LA to Santa Barbara, and at the point in time I was like, I really want to be with this girl, and I think I just want to move to LA. So
right.
I moved to LA because of her, and eventually we got married, and I don't want to take too much time into details of my personal romantic life, but so when I moved here, my cousin was doing loans in Santa Barbara, and I was, wanting to know what I want to do now. So obviously, I need to decide whether I'm going to go to do the scholarship, which is in Israel,
right?
Or I need to decide if I'm going to stay here, what I'm going to do here. And the reality is, like, I did not want to leave that, my wife, and I wanted to get married to her. So I said, okay, well, I guess the scholarship, although it was the original, idea of coming over here, went out the window.
Right.
And my cousin was doing the loans, and I was like, what are you doing that you're making so much money? Because in 2003, 4, 5, the loan business was incredible,
Wow.
So he told me what he was doing, and I said, well, what do I need to do that? And he's like, we need to get a license. But he said, but you know what? Get the license, and I think you probably will do better in real estate than loans. Loans boring. You got to sit on a computer. There's a lot of numbers. And you have a great personality, so I think you'll do well with people. And I said, what's real estate?
Really?
I had no idea what real estate was.
23-year-old, and you had no idea anything about real estate at all?
I think it was a combination, not knowing what real estate necessarily was, like the term, I was not familiar because English wasn't my language. So,
right.
And in Spanish, real estate is called bienes raíces.
Okay.
And, growing up with my family, when we had to move like from a place to another one, it was very rare, to use an agent. It wasn't at least when I was living there, it wasn't a thing in Bolivia to have real estate agents.
So you just go direct?
So you go direct, you read a newspaper, you find something and you go direct. There were a few times that I met, these guys that they will take us to, properties or whatever. But it certainly wasn't something that was looked or aspired to be, because
right.
It was just different, And I think
right.
that, the world has changed in that aspect. So I learned what real estate was. I moved to Los Angeles. I got my license, and I was working, doing real estate, in between restaurant. There was days that I was working
right.
in the night in the restaurant. I was working in real estate in the daytime, door knocking and doing everything that we know how to generate leads. Because I didn't have connections, right? I didn't have a family. I didn't have friends. I didn't go to college here. I didn't go to school here. So
right.
I was the only person I knew was my wife.
So how good was your English at this time when you're door knocking for leads?
I mean, it was definitely, rough.
Yeah.
I could communicate, but it wasn't great,
Right. Interesting.
So what's interesting about it is, like, people now come to me and I get emails, because I do a lot of talks and seminars and stuff like that, and people email me. It's like, there's actually a guy that just joined the company. He was saying, I always had this cloud behind me saying that I don't speak the language that good, or I have this accent, right. And that was such a block in my mind, and for me that was never an issue, because I think that I was doing the best I could.
Yep.
And I think I can get the message across, and people understood me, and I think I can remember, and if there's been very, very few times when someone will say, hey, your English is not good, that's not how you say it. I can't even remember. It must have been like 1 or 2 occasions in 15 years,
Right.
Because I think for most part, people connect with you, and if you come across and you deliver the message you want to deliver, if you made a mistake grammatically or something, I don't think people care about that personally,
right.
No. And the day I realized that, because my wife was, cute, and she was like, hearing me leaving messages for clients, and then when I hang up, she'd be like, you said this and that. So I said, well, you want to hear the message he left me? So, because, LA is such a diverse city. There are people that live here for a long time, they're very wealthy, they really don't speak good English,
Right.
So I got her to hear this voicemail from a client that his English was more broken than me, but he was very wealthy, I said, look, he doesn't seem to be bothered, so... But she was right, so I continued to improve, and I, read a lot of books. I think helps with the grammar part of the English. So I started to do real estate, and restaurant both for 5 years, and in about 2007, I saved enough money where I felt confident that I could drop the restaurant and just do real estate 100%.
So 2004 you started.
Yes.
So 3 years until you started to, get over that first hurdle.
Yes.
So it did happen overnight.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
So 2007 now, we just had a baby.
Okay.
So my wife, was off from work, and I was like, I think at this point I can just drop the restaurant and do real estate, which was a very great achievement at the moment.
Right.
So I dropped the restaurant and I started doing real estate 100%, and I was doing great. And then all of a sudden 2008 came up. October 2008 hit us,
right,
and it was rough. I mean, 8, 9, in 2009 we had a second child. We basically, I started to think like, oh my God, like all those little savings that I had now, nothing is selling. The market was so depressed,
right.
It was very, very difficult. I mean, you all know what we went through 2008, 2009.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, that was, I think, probably one of the lowest points, to kind of like stop and say, okay, you're doing good, and now you got kicked in the teeth, basically.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, oh yeah.
So life shows up and kicks you in the throat and the teeth.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when people either make it or break it, that those are the defining moments,
So it really tests, your stamina and your mental strength.
Yeah.
Especially when you're now a caregiver for your wife and your 2 kids.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I remember, you need to be proactive, I think. I think that being proactive and movement is very important. Thinking is good, but doing is better.
Of course.
Okay, so I think execution is a big thing. So I quickly adjust. I was like, okay, I'm not making any money right now, and my savings is going down, and I would just move to another location, to a beautiful condo, and I was like, can't afford this anymore. So we packed and talked to the owner. We were renting. Talked to the owner of the building, and I said, look, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I have to go to something smaller. I mean, we didn't expect the economy to be this. So he was kind enough to say, look, if you can find something that you like within my portfolio of buildings,
right,
I'll let you go downsize. So 2 blocks from there, he had another building, a little older, smaller, that we moved to, and we adjust, right? So we're adjusting for the bad moments. And at a point in time, I felt, okay, I think I might have to go back to. I don't have parents that can help me out with a little money and like get good, or I don't really have anyone to help us. And neither was my wife. Her family were amazing, but not financially in a place that could help us either.
Right.
So we decided to. Although her mom actually helped us a little bit at a point in time, not with a lot, but it was very helpful. I don't want to forget about that. And then I took my car. And I printed my waiter resume, and I said, I'm gonna just go to a restaurant and maybe pick up 3-4 shifts a week and just supplement with that because I gotta feed my family. And I remember that day was probably one of the lowest days I felt from the professional point of view of
stepping back a bit.
Yes, and I was like, okay, what does this mean? And I pull over, and I remember I was about to get out of my car and drop my first application to the restaurant. It was in Venice, I remember, on Abbot Kinney. And as I'm leaving out the car, something inside me just, shook me. And I was like, what the F are you doing, basically? Right. It's like, what are you doing right now? And it's almost like, I get chills just to think about it, because it's almost like you get introduced to your real self, At that moment, I got introduced to the real Santiago. I said, you know what, you're not going to do this. You're going to go and sell real estate, and you're not going to back into this one. So I closed my car, and I literally drove into a neighborhood that I really like, and I went door knocking for like 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that that when you make a decision, okay, and you are 100% committed, and you said that's not going to happen, and you make a strong decision from the inside, I think the universe just starts opening doors for you. Because I felt that the shift on that energy that I had, immediately I started to do better. Even in the midst of the very bad market, what I did is like, I'm going to go and work harder than everybody else. I was sitting open houses Saturdays and Sundays. I was door knocking 5 days a week. I was doing everything, right? So I think that when you put that energy, the universe almost wants to get out of your way. They says, okay, well, this guy's not giving up, so let's just might as well give it to him.
So do you think if it wasn't for the recession, you may not be where you're at now because of the work ethic that it required for you to pull out of that?
There's some truth to that, yes.
Yeah.
I definitely think that everything, I'm a big Tony Robbins guy, so I'm going to drop a few times his name in there.
Absolutely.
But, like Tony Robbins says, life, doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So I believe that, yes, we are who we are because of what has happened in our past.
Right.
And yes, I will attribute to that, to taking me to a whole different level. Because as 2012 came up, my business really exploded in an exponential level, and has been growing every year since then.
Right. And So you prepared yourself to take on this exponential success. You were ready for it. If you were just do what you're doing before, and then all this opportunity came to you in 2012, did you think you'd be prepared to take it on and be that successful?
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But I'm just grateful for everything that has happened to me.
Amazing.
Every heartache, I think that if there is no difficulty, if there's no pain, you don't grow. So you don't grow by always being good. I believe that you gotta go through pain, you gotta go through difficulty, and that's when you grow in different ways.
So you attract obviously very successful people, but it's because you give them value. You're the expert, and they're looking for guidance, right? And they want to make sure that they're getting the right advice. I mean, you've done deals with, I'm sure incredible business people, great families, celebrities. As I came in here, you're mentioning somebody. I won't say it unless you want to, but it's up to you. But it's on your website. So, and you're ranked now at 3rd in California.
Yeah, number 3 in California, number 7 in the United States this year. Last year I was 6 in the United States and 4 in California. So I went up on one and down in the other one. And that's just kind of how it happens, because at that level, you start selling over 300 million and you're competing with 10 other people basically in the United States, So you just, 1 year we're up and 1 year off. But yes, I'm just, very grateful to be where I am.
That's incredible. So you're over $2 billion in sales in your career now, and you've been licensed for how many years then?
2004 to 19, 15 years.
15 years, but you really started to sell in 2012. A lot of that is in 2012 onwards.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that's going to be from 2012 and up.
Yeah, that's great. So what brought you to the agency? Like, what is, you're now a principal and partner at the agency. You're building this cultured real estate. You're disrupting the industry. What made you see that the industry required disruption?
Yeah, exactly that. I've known Billy and Mauricio for a long time through the business. I've done deals with Billy specifically in the past, so we know each other. We know of each other. Billy was with what it was at the time, Prudential, and Mauricio was with Hilton Highland, and they're pretty prominent agents. So you get to know each other and do business. Although their business is more in the other side of town, like the east of the 405, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Hollywood Hills, all that area. And my market really is more into the coast, where we are right now, Brentwood, Palisades, Pacific Palisades, Malibu, Santa Monica. And I do high-end, so I do get the calls in Bel Air and Beverly Hills and go there too. But I get calls in Santa Barbara sometimes, So, but what attracted me, so I saw that they were doing. They called me. Billy called me and he said, "Hey, we're doing this, and wanted to know if you came." And I just moved from Sotheby's to another company that doesn't exist anymore. And I was like, "Look, I moved 6 months ago, and I just to go to another move and go to my clients, and it's not something that I want to do right now. But I wish you guys good luck." So they went and opened the agency, and I remember the first ad that came out in this book that I'm holding right now, which is called the Broker's Caravan Book. Okay. Every Monday. And you get this book because here's all the list of the properties they're going to have open houses tomorrow. So you get to advertising here. This is a publication for agents. And I remember they had a front page, and it said The Agency, and I was like, what a great name. I just from the get-go, I was like, that's cool, that's different, because all the other companies are like big corporations and
somebody's name is a law firm,
kind of stuff, So when they said like The Agency, I was like, that's cool.
This is what we do.
Yeah, so I kind of kept an eye on them for like about 6-7 months, and the place where I was, it was presented to me in one way, and as I was in there, I realized it wasn't for me. It wasn't really for me, and there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that I presented to them at the time, and they really wouldn't do it. And the things that I had in my mind that I presented to this old company, then Maurice and Billy were doing it. So I was like, that's what I want to do, and they're doing it, and where I am, they don't want to do it. So at that point, and I remember telling Billy when he called me originally, I said, look, I'll call you, because I get a lot of calls from different companies. So I said, I will call you when the time comes. And so the time came, and I called them, and we sat down, and we met the three of us. And we decided to be partners.
That's great.
Became an equity partner, and we joined forces, and I think that the synergy of the energies got us really, really to grow fast and connect with the right people. And I brought a good group. I brought David, James with me, John Grauman.
That's
a lot of the big agents.
Those are big agents.
They came with me, and they're good friends of mine. And now we all work together. And all those guys that I just mentioned, they're killing it.
They're absolutely killing it. Yeah. That's right. So what was the thing that you wanted to do that other agents or other brokers weren't doing?
PR, look into technology, have a sex appeal or something different with the name and the brand, So all the combination of all those things was great. But then what I got to learn even more was once I met with them was the culture, right? That really got me. It's like, oh my God, this place is awesome. I remember once I made the move, and I got up in my house, and I was like just up and excited and whatever. And my wife's like, "Oh, you look super happy and excited." It's like, and I sat for a second. I was like, I remember the last time that I get up and I was just so excited to go to the office,
Yeah.
Because in real estate, you don't really need to be in an office. You're out there.
Yeah.
But I was just excited to be in the office and be part of it. I was excited to wear the T-shirts. I was excited to wear the hat. And then I found out that the clients were excited to wear our hats. I got a call from very high-profile client that, called me one day. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to play golf. Do you have any more of those agency hats?" And I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "I want to use them." I was like, "Well, this guy wants to use our hats. We must have done something right with the brand."
Right.
So that's kind of like what's one of the things that got me. It's like that disruption, doing things different, changing a little bit of the way how real estate's been done for so long. The world's changed. You buy your clothing now, you just buy anything online, and there's different ways how to market things and everything. So why is it that one of the most expensive assets that you ever going to own in your life, possibly as a human, has been sold the way it's archaic?
Exactly. I used to say, the old school realtors, you walk into their listings, and refrigerators are marketed better than in $20 million houses.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's incredible. So where do you think the market's going right now in terms of marketing?
I think the market in Los Angeles is very strong.
Yeah.
I think that there's we had most $100 million sales this year than ever in history.
Wow.
We had more $70 million sales than ever. And I personally think that the economy in Los Angeles and the opportunities are here. We have so many things coming here. We have, the football stadium's been built. The Rams and Chargers Stadium is a $2 billion plus thing. And then you have the Clippers building a new stadium. I know Steve Ballmer personally. So there's a lot going on, in this city, in development, like the new hotels. Well, we were over the week last week for the forum, basically. That's a brand new hotel. The one hotel building is brand new. You have the Edition Hotel. You have like 5 or 6 things happening in that strip that are very expensive. There's a lot of money put in there, and a lot of people that trusted that this economy is going to support it, and it is. You have a lot of developments in downtown. So there's a lot of fundamentals why, Silicon Valley is moving to Silicon Beach, basically. There's a lot of movement from all the technology companies now. They're here. You have Snapchat, you have YouTube, you have Google, everybody's moving here. So I think the fundamentals are so strong here that's why we have this strong market. It's been strong since 2012. Now it's been 7 years.
That's right.
So the market's strong. Although what's happened is we're at the top of the market right now. What starts to happen is you start to see a lot more inventory. So basic economics. When the supply and the demand. The curve gets to a certain point and it's going to start declining. So we're getting to that point because there's a lot more inventory now.
Right.
And when you see news that the price reduction by 100 million or the price reduction by this, which those are the newsworthy, articles, what people don't really understand, and we do because we're the experts in the area, is that those prices were inflated and they weren't realistic to start with.
That's right.
So the issue is that when too many people overprice things, and a lot of those developers were counting on numbers that were based on 1 comp or 2 comps.
Or no
comps sold by agents that they just wanted to make a sale and they didn't care whether they're going to be able to deliver it or not. Well, now the time comes when you have a number of properties that come at the same time. They look a lot alike, and they're all overpriced. So all it takes is one guy to reduce the price. Everybody needs to reduce the price, and it starts adjusting down. And the perception to people is not like, oh, there's a realistic developer going down. All they say is like, oh my God, the market must be crashing. And by talking about that, it creates uncertainty. And when buyers are uncertain, they don't buy. And that eventually gets you to a slow market. That's basically what happens. It's kind of like we create our own, by talking. So this is very important, I think, as agents to educate people. And it's like, no, the market's super strong right now. The buyers are out there.
That's the thing. That's the indicator.
Things are selling. Yes, the buyers are out there. They're buying, but they're not buying the overpriced things. They're buying what's well priced.
Right.
They're buying what's a good product and a good location.
So being knowledgeable about the markets for young agents out there who listen to this, you're listening to one of the top agents in North America here, and it's down to the basics. Be knowledgeable, understand the market, advise correctly, and don't overpromise. And if you do that, you will get through markets like this. I mean, you're feeling the peak, but it could be an artificial peak as well because of the $200 million houses that were never worth $200 million to begin with. Just ego-driven, either developers, realtors, both, or bad advice.
Yeah, and you know what? The market's been so strong that a lot of them, they were getting it. For like 5 years, people have been setting prices and getting them. And it gets to a point where the consumer and the supply, again, we talk about all the combination of those things, it's not happening anymore,
Right.
So it changes a little bit. So yes, I think that, I talked to, I know that I've been hiring agents for 7 years. On the newer side of agents, I always tell them, you just need to know your stuff, You need to go to open houses, Don't go on Tuesday and see 3 houses. Like, try to get there early and see as many houses as you can, because knowing the house is what gives you knowledge. I got a call over the weekend from a guy that wants to buy a $50 million house from South America.
Fantastic.
And he asked me on the phone, he's like, I only want to see what's your listings. And I was saying, why is it that you only want to see my listings? If there's any other property out there that you like, I'll be happy to help you too. It's like, well, but your listings are the ones that you've seen and so you can give me advice. I'm like, no. You name a property in that price range in LA and I've been inside.
Right.
So he was like, oh, I didn't know it works like that. I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. If you're an agent at this level and you don't know your competition's product, then you're not doing anything right.
You can't sell your own listing, and you can't advise other people.
So anyway, I picked up this buyer, and I'm going to give you a fresh example. I spoke with him yesterday, and now he's going to fly, and we're going to be looking at a few properties. a lot of them are my listings, and there's one that he liked that it wasn't. So we're going to look at that too. But the point is, like, if you don't know that opportunity, everybody knows and everybody says about, what's the definition of luck. Preparation meets opportunity, right? Opportunity meets preparation.
Right.
But what does that mean? That means that if you get that call and you don't know those houses, and the guy asks you a question and finds out that you don't, you lost that lead.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in an open house and someone walks in there and asks you, hey, how do you compare this house with the house up the street, and you haven't seen the house up the street, then you don't have anything to talk about.
Right.
But if they walk in there and you're prepared and you know everything, and like, oh, the one up the street they're asking this dollar per square and it's got 1 bedroom, but the master doesn't have his and hers closets, and you know what you're talking about. Well, guess what? That person's gonna be like, oh, this guy knows, and then you'll pick up that person as a buyer. I can tell you how many times I've been sitting in open houses and